Bitcoin's value soared past the $50,000 mark for the first time since the introduction of spot Bitcoin exchange-traded funds, marking a significant week of trading. The cryptocurrency registered a 16.3% increase so far this year, elevating its valuation before experiencing a slight retreat. Bitcoin closed the week with a notable increase of 10.76%, marking its best weekly performance since December the 8th. Ether also recorded an 8.46% rise. That's its highest weekly gain since January the 12th. There has been a slowdown in outflows from stock markets, which likely helped Bitcoin's recent rise. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 reaching 5,000 points for the first time might have positively influenced the crypto market as well. Analysts say the recent increase in Bitcoin's value has raised hopes that it could reach $100,000 by year end. And this shows that Bitcoin is on an upward trend, which is good news for investors. For more on this now, we are joined by Alex de Vries in Amsterdam. He's a financial economist and founder of Digiconomist. Thank you for being with us, Alex. So one of the main drivers of the recent Bitcoin rally has been the ETF's inflows. Can we roughly quantify what sort of amounts are we talking about here and volumes so far? And what can we expect in the future as well?
Yeah, of course. We actually know that at least in the past week, this amount has exceeded 1 billion of net inflows. And well, actually by several metrics over the past month, we can now establish that these Bitcoin ETFs are probably one of the most successful ETF launches of all time. In the past month, we're talking about several billions of inflows. So they're doing extremely well.
Right, and you obviously remember in the end of 2017, actually, when the derivatives of these Bitcoins were floated on the stock exchanges in the US, the CME and the CBOE, and now we have the ETFs on spot prices. Does this mean that we are going towards mainstream adoption of the cryptocurrencies, or do you think there's more that needs to be done in terms of regulation? And can you explain exactly what needs to be done first?
I think that there are two angles here. First of all, this does help in mainstream adoption. Like one of the reasons why people are hesitant to invest in cryptocurrencies is because they also need to safely store the cryptocurrencies themselves. And if you're investing in an ETF, then you don't have that responsibility yourself. You don't have to deal with that. So it makes it easier to invest, which should help mainstream adoption. At the same time, a lot of concerns around Bitcoin have not been addressed. When the SEC approved Bitcoin ETFs, the SEC chairman, Gary Gensler, explicitly said, this approval is not an endorsement of Bitcoin itself. People should realize that Bitcoin is still a primarily speculative investment, which is also used for illicit purposes like money laundering and terrorism financing. So investors should be very cautious about putting their money in Bitcoin. And those concerns still have to be addressed, I think, to lower the threshold for people to get in this type of investments.
Interesting. So you seem to be saying that essentially the infrastructure around Bitcoin cryptocurrencies is not safe enough yet. Is that correct?
Yes, that is exactly what also the SEC chairman, after approving the ETF, said. In the past, they've repeatedly warned about market manipulation regarding Bitcoin. So that's not been solved by approving these ETFs. It's just that they couldn't reasonably argue that there should not be a spot ETF anymore, but at the same time these concerns remain.
Right, and we know that the Fed will also embark on a potential upcoming monetary easing, right? Historically, what does this mean for different assets such as cryptocurrencies? Will this support prices or not?
Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely expect that simply because that is typically a good thing for speculative assets. And well, I just mentioned, even the SEC chairman was highlighting Bitcoin as a highly speculative investment. So yeah, absolutely. Typically good for money, good for speculative assets. So that might help Bitcoin for sure.
Interesting. And Alex, immediately after the approval of the ETFs on Bitcoin, we've actually seen a sizable drop in Bitcoin prices. Why? I wonder, is this simply a case of buy the rumor, sell the fact kind of event, or is this something else completely?
No, I think that is definitely the case. It's a age-old wisdom in financial markets, and it continues to hold here. We've seen the price go up for months as the approval was approaching, and then when it eventually happened, there's a classic drop in prices. I think that is just very common observation. I guess you could say that the interesting part is that now the prices do continue to climb after had that initial drop. So it does appear that the ETFs are having a positive effect. But yeah, as I said, it's mostly just the classic case of buy the rumor, sell the news, what we saw initially.
Right. Alex Labrie, thank you very much for your analysis.
Very welcome.
And now a quick look at some of the top stories from around the world. France has suspended a scheme to lease electric cars from just $109 a month. It comes after the government more than doubled its subsidies for the number of vehicles planned for 2024. Launched in December last year, the policy was to make electric vehicles more affordable to low-income households. Authorities say they plan to relaunch the program at the end of this year. Thousands of drivers for Uber, Lyft and DoorDash will stop working on Wednesday to protest over pay and unsafe working conditions. The drivers, who are not considered full employees but independent contractors, argue that the companies pay them too little and keep too much of the money they earn. And the world's top tyre maker, Michelin, has posted record operating profits of over $3.8 million. The firm's push towards more premium products, including SUVs, have boosted sales along with a dip in the cost of raw materials. However, net profits slipped 1.3% to just over $2.1 billion.